પ્રભુ તે મને જે આપ્યું છે તેનો બદલો શેવાળો, બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડાને વાળો. ઓ મનડાને વાળો, પ્રભુ તે મને જે આપ્યું છે તેનો બદલો શેવાળો, બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડાને વાળો. ઓ મારા મનડાને વાળો. મને નરકની ગોધથી તે તાર્યો, મને અનંત દુઃખોથી ઉગાર્યો. તારા ઉપકાર અનંત છે. તારા ઉપકાર તેનો બદલો શેવાળો, બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડાને વાળો. પ્રભુ તે મને જે આપ્યું છે તારી કૃપા, તુજ શાસન પામ્યો તારી કૃપા. જીન ધર્મ તણી બલિહારી છે. જીન ધર્મ તણી બલિહારી છે તેનો બદલો શેવાળો, બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડાને વાળો. ઓ મારા મનડાને વાળો. નગરનો સથવારો, હું મોહનગરમાં વસનારો. તો ભવો ભવનો ઉપકારી છું. તો ભવો ભવનો ઉપકારી છું, તેનો બદલો શેવાળો, બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડાને વાળો. ઓ મારા મનડાને વાળો. પ્રભુ તે મને જે આપ્યું છે તેનો બદલો શેવાળો, बस तारी भक्ति करी करीने मारा मनड़ा नेवा ओ मारा मनड़ा नेवा मारा मनड़ा नेवाड़ो। मेरे लिए इतनी सी तुम दिल से दुआ करना, जाऊं जब मैं इस दुनिया से प्रभु से ये कहना, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले हैं जिन धर्म दोबारा, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले हैं वीर धर्म दोबारा, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले जिन धर्म दोबारा, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले वीर धर्म दोबारा। जब सांसें मेरी बंद हो जाएगी, जब आंखें मेरी थके सो जाएगी, जब भीड़ लगेगी और सब रोएंगे, पहचान ही मेरी कहीं खो जाएगी। गीत मेरा ये सबको उस दिन याद दिलाएगा, मन में तब फिर सबके बस एक बात ही लाएगा, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले हैं जिन धर्म दोबारा, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले हैं फिर धर्म दोबारा। कुछ किस्से होंगे, कुछ बातें होंगी, जब मेरे बिन ये दिन रातें होंगी, मेरे लफ्जों को सब याद करेंगे, कुछ रो देंगे तो कुछ खूब हंसेंगे, नाम मेरा एकदम से कभी जुबां पे आए तो आंखें अपनी बंद करना और कहना महावीर को, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले हैं जिन धर्म दोबारा, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले हैं वीर धर्म दोबारा, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले जिन धर्म दोबारा, बनूं मैं जैन दोबारा, मिले वीर धर्म दोबारा।
Thank you, Bhavik, Sagar, and Rupal for those extremely beautiful stubbins. Pujya Samniji, members of the Houses of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Jai Jinendra, and a very warm welcome to you to this Mahavir Janma Kalyanak hosted by OneJAIN and the Jain All-Party Parliamentary Group. This event is usually held in the chambers of the Houses of Commons, and we all look forward to this every year. However, over the last year, we all know that because of the pandemic, we've been holding events on Zoom. And Zoom has its advantages. Today, instead of having a few hundred people in the House of Commons, we have thousands watching from all over the world. And wherever you are today, a very, very warm welcome to you, and thank you for being part of our event. Now, this event is going out everywhere, and many organizations have asked if they are able to become part of our OneJAIN family. And today I'd like to introduce a few of them to you and to give you a list of names of the sorts of people that are now becoming part of OneJAIN and whom we are really happy to welcome to our organization and to celebrate Mahavir Janma Kalyanak with. So can I start with Madagascar and with Mukesh Bhai Samat? Then in Mauritius, we've got Narendra Bhai Kumar Jain and Anupam Bhai Jain. In Ireland, Rohit Bhai Singhvi and Mahesh Bhai Paj. In Sweden, Sandeep Bhai Kudar. South Africa, Champaklal Bhai Mehta and Biren Bhai Mehta. In Kuwait, Harsha Ben Shah and Dilip Bhai Shah. In Dubai, we have Prakash Bhai Shet, Amish Bhai Shet, Sonal Ben Shah. Ethiopia, we have Raju Bhai Kotari and Nilesh Bhai Mehta and Pankaj Bhai Doshi. In Tanzania, we have Chetan Bhai Shah and Atul Bhai Shet, and also, I understand, Nirmal Bhai Shet. And in India, we have a number of people. Our own Kumar Pal Bhai Desa, who is the managing trustee of the Institute of Jainology there. Pankaj Bhai Hingrani, who is a renowned scholar. Samvik Bhai Lal Bhai of the Anandji Kalyanji Pedi. In Vapi, we have Lalit Bhai Shah from the Jain Social Group and Amish Bhai Doshi. We're very happy to welcome you all. My apologies if I've missed anybody else, but we're delighted that you're all with us today, and thank you so much. So, yesterday, many of you would have watched the funeral of His Royal Highness Prince Philip. His Royal Highness passed away a few days ago peacefully, and that saddened all of us at OneJAIN because for over 30 years, he had been associated with us and our activities. And so we wanted to take a couple of minutes just to pay a quick tribute and to show you some of the work that he and we have done together. And if you look at his life, a life of service and of duty, in that life, he had spent a lot of time looking after the environment and looking after faith communities, both of which are very close to our hearts. So let me start in 1990. And at that time, as you will see from the photograph, 30 eminent scholars produced the Jain Declaration on Nature, which set out Jainism's fundamental values and emphasized how, as Jains, we live in harmony with the environment. Now, at that time, His Royal Highness was the president of the Worldwide Fund for Nature. And at this ceremony, 21 Jain leaders, who you can see in the image with the scholars from around the world, came together and presented this. And this marked the entry of Jainism into the UK as a recognized religion. And that was in 1990. In 1995, we had the first full-scale exhibition of Jain art in Europe. And we'll just move on to the next slide. There you are. And this was at the Victoria and Albert Museum, where Her Majesty the Queen and the President of India, Dr. Sharma, were both joint patrons. There you see Prince Philip opening this exhibition, and is being welcomed by our former chairman, the late Ratibhai Shah, and our current chairman, Nemubhai Chandaria. Then in 1991, we had started cataloging the Jain collection at the British Library. And this was a long, arduous task. Many scholars were involved, and the catalog was only published in 2007, some 16 years later. And His Royal Highness agreed to launch this catalog at Buckingham Palace. And there you see him being presented with the catalog where the international Jain community turned up. So as you can see, he's been involved with us in many, many events, and we see his passing away as a huge loss for our community. And we would like to pay tribute to him by taking a few minutes silence just to reflect on his life of service, duty, and loyalty. Thank you very much. And so now we move on to today's program. And before I give you details of the amazing program that we have today, I would like to start in our traditional fashion with some prayers. And today we are absolutely delighted that the children of the Jain Vishwa Bharati in London, children of the Gyanshala there, have agreed and are going to present you with some prayers to Bhagwan Mahavir to start off this event. So please give a warm welcome to the kids of the JVB Gyanshala. Wasn't that beautiful? And what an amazing way to start this event. Thank you so much to the children of the Jain Vishwabhati Gyanshala. So on to today's event. And many of you have, like all of us, have been living through a pandemic over the last year. In that time, you'll have seen, suffering, been in lockdown, separated from friends, or if you're a student, from your fellow students, from school, university, and you will have been in a situation that you never ever imagined a year ago. And so today we thought the theme for this event should be how people take the lessons, the examples, the teachings, and the life of Tirthankar Bhagavan Mahavir as an example to live during this pandemic. What lessons have they learned? What could they tell you about those examples? And how could we all get inspiration from this? And so this is the theme for today. I'm also delighted to note the number of young people on the program today, and you'll see them through the event. Of course, we have our virtual pilgrimage to Girnar, which is very special, and I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And also the awards, the OneJAIN awards that we weren't able to present last year, but more about that later, and you'll see those. And just to remind you, at the end of this event, there will be a 30-minute special presentation on the 125th year of Srimad Rajchandra's Atma Siddhi. So please do stay for that if you can. But what I would like to do is start with a stavan and to get the program rolling. And to do that, we have for our very own from London, a rare talent and a beautiful talent, Sagar Bhai Malde, who is going to present you with a stavan. So please do give him a warm welcome.
Jai Jinendra, presenting a beautiful stavan dedicated to Bhagwan Mahavir. Mahavir ke चरणों में आकर के झुक जाना है ये पावन भूमि, यहाँ बार बार आना है। ये पावन भूमि, यहाँ बार बार आना। तेरे मस्तक पे मुकुट है, तेरे कानों में कुंडल है। तेरे मस्तक पे मुकुट है, तेरे कानों में कुंडल है। तू तो करुणा सागर है, तू तो करुणा ना सागर है। मुझ पर करुणा करना है। ये पावन भूमि, यहाँ बार बार आना। तेरा तीरथ सुंदर है, तू प्राणों से प्यारा है। तेरा तीरथ सुंदर है, तू प्राणों से प्यारा है। मेरी विनती सुन लेना, मेरी विनती सुन लेना। बेड़ा पार लगा लेना है ये पावन भूमि यहाँ बार बार आना तेरी सावली सूरत है मेरे मन को लुभाती है तेरी सावली सूरत है मेरे मन को लुभाती है प्रभु मेरी भक्ति कहाँ प्रभु मेरी भक्ति कहाँ स्वीकार तू कर लेना है ये पावन भूमि यहाँ बार बार आना महावीर के चरणों में है महावीर के चरणों में है आकर के झुक जाना है ये पावन भूमि यहाँ बार बार आना यहाँ बार बार आना यहाँ बार बार आना
Thank you, Sagar. Sagar Bhai Malde from London. An amazing talent, and I'm delighted to tell you that we have more young singers from London further in the program. So keep an eye out for that. And this, as I said at the start, is an event hosted by the Jain All-Party Parliamentary Group. And the parliamentary group was set up many years ago, and since its inception, its chair has been the Honourable Gareth Thomas MP, who is MP for Harrow West and a Shadow Minister. And he has worked with us to make sure that Jain interests are represented in Parliament whenever they need to. And so I'm delighted that Gareth has sent a short recording for us today, reflecting on Bhagwan Mahavir's life in today's environment. Over to you, Gareth.
My name's Gareth Thomas. I'm the MP for Harrow West and delighted to be chair of the all-party group for the Jain community. And particularly delighted to have the opportunity to join you to celebrate the birth of Mahavir. He taught three essential truths: ahimsa, aparigraha, and anikant avda. I apologize if I've got the pronunciations wrong, but those three great virtues, non-violence, limiting our possessions and our exploitation of the environment, and appreciating that reality has many sides, are principles that I think in our country and across the world we could do well to encourage more recognition. Non-violence is the tradition, I suppose, of the Jain community that is most marked to those of us who are not Jains. It's one of the great challenges to politicians and those who believe, as I do, that force is something that countries must be able to call upon when necessary. But ahimsa, I think, is a challenge to remind us that force should only be used when absolutely necessary, when everything else has failed. And in that sense, the principle of anikant avda, appreciating that reality has many sides, is important. It's the challenge of finding empathy with people who perhaps at your first conversations with them appear to be at odds with what you believe and what you want to achieve. Looking to understand where they're coming from and what their concerns are, and seeing if there is a way to meet those concerns whilst trying to deliver on your objectives seems to be a very powerful and continued message. And the challenge of developing the skill of empathy and demonstrating empathy is a challenge that is rarely taught, and is something that too often one learns and comes to only later in life. So the more that we can encourage people to think about empathy, that challenge of developing the skill to recognize that people who are sitting opposite you, who have different views, are perfectly entitled to their views, and yet we need to find a way to work with them, is extremely important. Any parent who has had young children, or indeed older children who don't want to do homework, or who don't want to do what you want to tell them, will understand the importance on occasion of trying to find empathy with your children, to understand why they don't want to do something, whether it's because it's hard and difficult, or they don't understand something, or whether there are other reasons, and trying to work your way through those reasons in a sympathetic and empathetic way can ultimately and more usually help to maintain smooth relations in the family, and hopefully to get that homework or whatever else done. So I think it's a hugely important reminder that reality has many different sides, that challenge of finding empathy with people you disagree with. And perhaps lastly, the challenge of limiting your possessions. I think it's a hard one for all of us who are particularly coming out of COVID, the COVID lockdown at the moment, and enjoying the freedom of going back to shop for things that we perhaps haven't been able to do for what is it now, almost 4 months. As a particularly worth us thinking whether we really need those things. And crucially, it's important to recognise the impact that our purchases can potentially have on the environment. If we are going to buy things, can we buy products that have been developed that limit the impact on the environment, that perhaps don't use plastic? Plastic is a huge challenge to the health of our oceans and other parts of the natural environment. So that's a particular challenge that great charities like Tear Fund and others challenge us to think about in our daily lives. Those are just one or two thoughts about what perhaps the modern context is for the challenges and teachings that Mahavir posed to all of us. I wish you well for the celebrations of this great teacher, great saint of Jainism. Many thanks.
Thank you, Gareth, for reflecting on Bhagwan Mahavir's teachings of ahimsa, anekantvada, and aparigraha. And thank you for your insightful views on these philosophies. Next, we have Padma Shri, the Honourable Bob Blackman MP. Bob got his Padma Shri about a year ago from the Government of India, and he's the MP for Harrow East. And again, been working with us since the inception as Deputy Chairman of the Jain All-Party Parliamentary Group. Bob has been thinking about the life of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, and how we can consider that life in terms of Jain teaching. So please give Bob Blackman a very warm welcome.
Jai Janendra, this is Bob Blackman, MP for Harrow East and Vice Chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Jains. As we reflect on the sad death of Prince Philip, I'm sure that all of us would like to send our condolences and best wishes to Her Majesty the Queen and the royal family for the sad loss of Prince Philip, a long life lived in an exemplary fashion, and the provision of service to this country and to the Commonwealth, but also to the world in general. As we come together, it's important, I think, that we consider the aspects of Jainology, what we expect of people and why. So we start with, obviously, with ahimsa, the culture of non-violence. And I think it's fair to say that Prince Philip, for example, was a military man in his younger days and understood and saw at first hand the dreadful consequences of war, people being killed unnecessarily and indeed with extreme violence. So it's important that we consider the best way that we can ensure that people come together, speak about their problems, speak about their differences, but then listen to each other and ensure that actually we maintain our temper. Often losing one's temper is the reason why people commit violent acts. So learning to control one's temper, preaching non-violence and saying to people that it is not a strength in hitting people, it is a strength in actually preserving one's dignity and protecting each other. Then, of course, the aparijanaha, limiting the amount of possessions we have to what we need. This is a massive challenge for most people because people always want to acquire new things and probably way beyond what they actually need to sustain themselves and their families. But it also encompasses the need to protect the environment and to ensure that we only take from the environment what we need to sustain life and not be greedy. It is one of those areas, once again, that Prince Philip was a forerunner in. He founded the World Wildlife Fund and indeed protected endangered species and animals around the world, but also was in charge of the Queen's estates at an early stage of his marriage. That meant that he was looking at the sustainability of the environment from a relatively young age and way before most people in the United Kingdom actually demonstrated that there was a need to protect the environment. He was an early pioneer in terms of both science and technology and also using the mass media as a means of communication. That, of course, is something that really most of us didn't know until his sad death, because most of his interest was formulated way before most of us were born. And so it demonstrates that actually we should be thinking about these things on a day-to-day basis and right across our lives. Then, of course, there's Anakavanda, the reality that many people have different perceptions, and someone's perception is their reality. What we should be looking at is people have different views, and whichever religion people follow, but particularly obviously in Jainology, the aspect of the good Lord says that you have two ears and one mouth, and actually listening to other people, hearing what they've got to say, understanding their arguments. You may not agree. People don't always agree, and that's one of the things that is fundamental in human discourse. However, by actually listening to people actively, rather than just hearing what they say, we can actually improve the world as one. So on this great day, I give you strong greetings, and indeed I trust that the rest of this virtual meeting goes successfully as we celebrate together. Jai Jinendra.
Thank you, Bob, for your reflections on the life of His Royal Highness Prince Philip. If you've joined us recently, there is still the virtual pilgrimage to Girnar, still to come very shortly, and also the OneJAIN Awards. But before that, I'm delighted that we're now going to be having one of my favorite stavans, so beautifully sung by Rupal Ben Shah, who from a young age has been singing in Africa, America, Europe, and even here at the Royal Albert Hall. So delighted to welcome her, and please give her a warm welcome. Rupal Shah.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. I'm Rupal. I will be singing the much-loved bhajan Rangai Jane Rangma, Mahavir Prabhuna Rangma, Arihant Kera Rangma.
रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा महावीर प्रभु ना रंगमा हरिहंत कीरा रंगमा रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा महावीर प्रभु ना रंगमा हरिहंत कीरा रंगमा रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा आज बजशु काले बजशु बीती उमर तमा क्यारे लईशु वीरनु ना आज बजशु काले बजशु बीती उमर तमा क्यारे लईशु वीरनु ना श्वास कुटशे नारी टूटशे श्वास कुटशे नारी टूटशे प्राण नहीं रहे अंगमा रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा महावीर प्रभु ना रंगमा हरिहंत कीरा रंगमा रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा गढ़ बनावशे त्यारे भजशु पहला काम तमा पछी करशु तीरथ धाम गढ़ बनावशे त्यारे भजशु पहला काम तमा पछी करशु तीरथ धाम आत्मिक दिन उड़ी जाशे आत्मिक दिन उड़ी जाशे शानी रजे न संगमा रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा महावीर प्रभु ना जंतु जातु जीवशु मारु छे आत्मा पेलामल करियो ना जीवा जंतु जातु जीवशु मारु छे आत्मा पेलामल करियो ना तेरो आवशे जन्म त्यारे तेरो आवशे जन्म त्यारे चाहू परशे संगमा रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा महावीर प्रभु ना रंगमा हरिहंत कीरा रंगमा रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा रंगाई जानी रंगमा तू रंगाई जानी रंगमा.
Thank you for that, Rupal. And just a reminder, you're watching this on YouTube. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you will get notifications of all the events that we hold throughout the year and when they're on. Similarly, on Facebook and Twitter, we use the name Jainpedia. If you follow us on Jainpedia, you will get all of these details. So please go ahead and do that. Now, Tirthankar Bhagwan Mahavir took Diksha at the tender age of 30. And for 12 very long and hard years, he practiced his asceticism as a monk, and until the age of 42 when he achieved Keval Gnan. And those years have a lot of teachings for us, and you have to be able to understand what he went through and how we should learn from that. And to help us do that today, one of our keynote speakers, our first one for the day, is Pujya Samni Dr. Pratibha Pragyaji, who is based here in London at the Jain Vishwabharati Center in Harrow. Pujya Samniji has done a PhD at the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London, and is a pillar in the community, especially during these times when people need both spiritual support, but also social support and end-of-life support. And we're grateful for her being here and the services she's able to provide. So please welcome Pujya Samniji to talk a little bit about Bhagwan Mahavir's life and the lessons we can learn from it. Pujya Samniji.
My reverential homage in the lotus feet of Vitarag Bhagwan Mahavir, dignitaries, all the members of OneJAIN UK, brothers and sisters. Traditionally, Mahavir Jayanti celebration starts with Kalp Sutra. Let me begin with an extract from Kalp Sutra, which is a 4th century CE Jain scripture composed by one of the greatest Acharya, Bhadrabahu Swami, who was the last Shrutakevali, omniscient with articulate knowledge of this era, along with the knowledge of 14 Purvas. Auspicious and extensive life account of Bhagwan Mahavir is depicted in golden letters in Kalp Sutra. Therefore, even today, it is venerated with great reverence by all Jains. Few lines in its original Prakrit linguistic flavor I'm going to recite from Kalp Sutra. Tenam kalenam samayenam samane bhagavam mahavire jese gimhanam padme mase docce pakhe chitta suddhassa terasi divasenam Hattuttarahin Nakhattenam Jogmuvagayenam Arogam Darayam Payaya. The sutra states that Bhagwan Mahavir was born on the 13th day of the bright half of Chaitra month of Indian calendar. He was born at midnight. The moon was in its best conjunction. The skies were tranquil, pure and bright. A pleasant south wind swept the earth. Fields were green with corn. People rejoiced and celebrated the birth of a savior of mankind. Mahavir spent 30 years as a householder with vigilance and diligence. A year preceding his initiation, he did Varsi Dan, a year-long charity for needy people. This set an example for the coming generations. Mahavir spent 12 and a half years in isolation, meditation, and contemplation. These qualities underpinned his future path on the journey towards his liberation and liberation for the coming generations. The world has just witnessed one of the most extraordinary years as a result of corona pandemic breakout in 2020. The event has brought home to us relevance of Bhagwan Mahavir's teaching with particular emphasis to compassion, forgiveness, and the guiding principles for longevity of life. The pandemic came without any warning, though scientists had predicted its breakout. However, we were preoccupied in our worldly activities to take any notice. From beginning to the 21st century, technological innovations and inventions had a dramatic effect in many areas of our life: social, economic, political, health, leisure, environment, etc. People started to believe that they were on the crest of a new wave. However, in reality, material satisfaction had overshadowed the belief in strength of spirituality. We overlooked the fact that purpose of our journey from birth to death has remained timeless. Eventually, all souls have to account for their karmic actions. The laws of karma are still in operation and no one is exempt from it. Lives of millions of people on all the continents were changed in a short span of time. In a way, we became the prisoners of our own success. However, there was a silver lining to this dark cloud. The lockdowns exposed our fault lines in many areas. Mahavir's teaching on isolation, compassion, and charity became more relevant today. Souls started to render services to each other, volunteering from local street level to national level started to operate alongside central and local governments to fill in the gaps open as a result of catastrophic outbreak of COVID-19. At the micro level, local charities alongside voluntary groups took over the task of looking after the residents. These services includes helping with shopping, collecting medicines from pharmacies, distributing hot meals, arranging one-to-one consultations with doctors, pharmacists, and medical assistants, and providing counseling services. At the same time, religious gurus, sadhus and sadhvis, Saman Shreni, Bhattaraks, Swadhyay scholars all played a pivotal role through their discourses, meditations, yoga, mantra chanting, and personal counseling. This endeavor helped people to reinforce the religious faith and gain mental peace in this difficult time. At the macro level, charities provided support in their specialist fields. It is worth mentioning here that Khalsa Aid provided hot meals to hundreds of lorry drivers who were stranded at the port of Dover in Kent when they were on their way back to their homes before Christmas last year. In a similar way, Jain community in many countries rose to the challenge thrown by the pandemic. They did remarkable work in helping deprived and needy. Also, animals and birds. At the same time, new charities were formed on the inspiration of individuals who won international acclaim. Two such charities come to mind. Late Captain Sir Tom Moore raised over £32 million and Max Woozy, known as Tent Boy, raised over £500,000 for his local hospice. The coronavirus pandemic also motivated people on the path of soul searching as well as introspection. People got an opportunity to reflect on their past actions and deeds with its consequences. It made people to realize that life is too short and material things are not so important. To conclude, I will now quote from Avashyak Sutra, Khamemi Sabba Jive Sabbe Jiva Khamantu me Mitti me Sabba Bhuesu Veram Majjanakenai. This sutra contains the secret of succeeding in life. Lord Mahavir says that one should forgive all beings and also seek forgiveness from them. One who knows how to forgive others actually knows how to live life. One can forgive others only one is able to tolerate others. If we tolerate all, we have enmity with all. Forgiveness has the power to establish good relations and to make the whole world a friend. The path leads towards a success which is devoid of enemies and full of friends. So, one should always cultivate the feeling of friendliness to all. Let us adopt the lessons from Bhagwan Mahavir's life to get through this pandemic. Om Arham, Om Arham. I wish you all happy, healthy, peaceful, blissful Mahavir Jayanti, Mahavir Jayanti.
Thank you, Pujya Samniji, for such a beautiful message explained so simply. Thank you again so much. Now, many of you who have brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, friends that are students, either at school or at university, will have seen over the last year the struggles that many have been going through. Exams cancelled, sitting at home during lockdown periods, school shut, no access to facilities, libraries, friends. And so, how in those times do you get through those? How do you draw your strength from the message of Tirthankar Bhagwan Mahavir? And how do you look forward, when everything is in a situation like this? To explain that for you, we're absolutely delighted that the president of the Cambridge University Jain Society has joined us today. And I'm delighted to welcome Kevli Shah here, who will talk to you a little bit about that and a little bit about the society at Cambridge. Please give her a warm welcome. Kevli, over to you.
Thank you. Vandami Namansami, respected Shramnijis, and Jai Jinendra, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Mahavir Jayanti to you all. My name is Kevli Shah, and I'm 20 years old. I'm currently in my third year, reading computer science at the University of Cambridge. On this special occasion, I would like to share with you my experiences as a practicing Jain at university and going through the pandemic. Upon joining university, I was surprised to realize that despite a substantial number of Jains who had attended Cambridge before me, and despite there being thriving societies of other religions, there was not an established Jain society. Therefore, in my second year, I was excited to be able to formally put together a committee and establish the Cambridge University Jain Society. For the past 2 years, I've been president, and it has been a great opportunity to bring Jainism to Cambridge. We have organized several events, including talks, socials, interfaith panels, and competitions. One of the highlights of my second year was organizing the first ever Jain vegan formal, hosted at Clare College. Formals are the very traditional meals served in the old halls of Cambridge. And given that even a few decades ago, it was hard to get vegetarian food, and Cambridge in general is very rigid in their traditions, to get a Jain and vegan meal was a great achievement. Alongside other social meetups, we have organized a variety of talks to educate students about Jainism. Due to the small Jain population in Cambridge, in-person events would bring around 10 to 15 people, but with the shift to online events, we were seeing numbers up to 100. Some of the speakers we have had are Dr. Mehul Sangrajka, who gave a talk on Who Are the Jains, Anish Visaria, who shared his creation on a Jain literature search engine, and Wenda Shahata, who was the founder of an animal sanctuary called Huglets. Setting up and running Cambridge University Jain Society for 2 years has been a great learning experience, and I've had a lot of fun. More importantly, I have found it to be a good way to keep Jainism a part of the conversation. For example, setting up a stall at the Freshers' Fair, which is an event attended by thousands of students, allowed us to engage with curious students who had never heard of Jainism. And upon seeing the stall, they wanted to find out more and find out about what this new religion was. This helped to increase awareness of Jainism beyond the Jain community, and it helped to give the message that Jainism is a strong and distinct religion. We have also been invited to interfaith events, and as a result of being an established society. Jainism has been a key part of my life for as long as I can remember. From listening to Stavans before bed when I was younger, to SEVP Jain School every Friday, the constant guidance and presence of respected Shramnijis in my life, and Jatra trips to India. In times of crisis, like this pandemic, I think that having some sort of faith is essential. I would like to share with you some of my experiences during the COVID-19 pandemic and how Jainism has helped me. With the news of the first lockdown, my final term of second year was suddenly cancelled, and I found myself with a lot of time, with only the constant news of the increasing number of deaths and the spread of the virus around the globe. I found it easy to be sucked into this act of doom scrolling, just constantly consuming large quantities of negative news at once. With the Jain organizations in London being so quick to ramp up the number of virtual activities taking place, one such activity that I participated in was a daily evening japs and prayer session led by the respected Shramnijis. The short time spent meditating was incredibly powerful and effective. It was a period of 30 minutes that I was able to fully disconnect from what was going on in the world, and I was able to experience total relaxation. I found that drawing upon religious leaders and our ancient prayers and mantras for strength during this difficult time was a great way to escape the negative news cycle, and it provided me with moments of calmness in an otherwise chaotic world. Alongside the physical illness struggles that thousands of people were facing daily, in the student population, the mental health crisis that was already so dire was growing worse the more the lockdown extended. There was a period of a few months in the winter that the only news I was getting was the virus spreading to an increasing number of people that I personally knew, people my age losing their parents, and students at my university having mental health breakdowns, and in some tragic cases, even suicide. While being surrounded by these heartbreaking situations, I found that my belief in Jainism partially helped me to stay strong and gave me hope when confronted with so much difficult information to process. I was able to deal with the concept of death better by drawing comfort from the fact that the soul is eternal, and while the person might have left this body on earth, they were still living in their new body elsewhere. Thinking about how all this suffering comes from the fruition of our own karmas helped me to understand why we were all being put in such a difficult position. On a more positive note, despite the unthinkable difficulties the pandemic has resulted in, I feel that it has also been a great opportunity to review the way we are leading our lives and our communities. Relating back to the Cambridge University Jain Society, we have been able to host many online events. If it had not been for the pandemic, we would have stuck to our usual in-person events. But because of the increasing normality of online events, we were able to have international speakers, such as Anish Visaria from America. Another exciting fruition was the inter-university collaboration between Cambridge, Imperial, UCL, King's, Queen Mary's, and Nottingham to celebrate Diwali together. It was the first time that 6 student Jain societies had come together in this way, and we hope that this is only the beginning of a continual interaction between all of our universities. As Susan L. Taylor said, the seeds of faith are always with us. Sometimes it takes a crisis to nourish and encourage their growth. Thanks to my parents, I have had this faith with me my whole life. And now, due to the pandemic, I have observed firsthand the benefit of having such a strong faith. Therefore, I hope to continue my belief in Jainism as life progresses, in both the good times and the bad. Thank you for listening, and Jai Jinendra.
Thank you, Kevli, and the best of luck with your studies for the coming year, and also to the growth of the Jain Society at Cambridge University. We wish you all the very best for that. So now I'd like to move on to another beautiful stavan sung by the very talented Rajvi Ben Punatar, who is very well known to most of you, and who is also a senior research scientist and has been a driving force recently for the Jain Health Initiative. We're delighted that she's sharing her incredible talent with us today, and we welcome her to our Mahavir Janti function.
જય જિનેન્દ્ર બધાને. મારું નામ રાજવી પુનાતર છે. આજે મહાવીર જયંતિ નિમિત્તે હું એક સરસ મજાનું મહાવીર ભગવાનનું સ્તવન ગાવાની છું. તે સ્તવન જૂનું અને જાણીતું છે અને તે સ્તવન શાંતિબાઈ શાહનું બનાવેલું અને ગાયેલું છે. આજે મારી સાથે હાર્મોનિયમ ઉપર કંપની કરે છે મારા હસબન્ડ અજય પુનાતર. हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया. ओ हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया. घरी वड्या छे मुझने मारा, घरी वड्या छे मुझने मारा. पापना પડછાયા. हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया. ओ हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया. બાકુડાના ભોજન દઈને ચંદન બાળા તારી પ્રભુ, ચંદન બાળા તારી. ચંડ કૌશિકના ઝેર ઉતારી એને લીધો ગારી પ્રભુ, એને લીધો ગારી. रोहिणी जेवा चोर लुटारा, रोहिणी जेवा चोर लुटारा. तुझ पंथे पलटाया. हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया. ओ हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया. जुदा थईने पुत्री जमाई केवो विरोध करता. जुओ केवो विरोध करता. गाड़ो दे गो शाड़ो तो ये दिल मा समता धरता. तो ये दिल मा समता धरता. ઝેર ઘૂંટડા ગળી જઈને, ઝેર ઘૂંટડા ગળી જઈને પ્રેમના અમૃત પાયા. હે ત્રિશલાના જાયા માગુ તારી માયા. ओ हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया. સુલસા જેવી શ્રાવ भाविकाने करुणा आणि संभारी प्रभु करुणा आणि संभारी विनवुछु हे महावीर स्वामी लेशो नहीं विसारी मने लेशो नहीं विसारी अडगंता संसारे देजो अडगंता संसारे देजो सुखनी शीतळ छाया हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया हो हे त्रिशलाना जाया मागु तारी माया हे मागु तारी माया हे मागु तारी माया.
Thank you, Rajvi-ben, for that beautiful stavan. Before we go to the pilgrimage of Girnar, many of you will know that this is the 125th year of Srimad Rajchandra's Atma Siddhi, such a famous and classical book, and one which has such great following around the world. And at the end of this event, we will be holding a special 30-minute event on that. But for now, I'm honored to ask my fellow trustee, Jaisukpai Mehta, to give you a short introduction to Srimad Rajchandra and Atma Siddhi. Jaisukpai.
Thank you, Mehul Bhai. Jai Jinendra to all. As Mehul Bhai said, I'm a director at the Institute of Jainology and a coordinator of OneJAIN panel. This year, we are celebrating 125th anniversary of Sri Atmasiddhi Shastra. I will talk briefly on its composer, Srimad Rajchandra, and then about the Atmasiddhi itself. Bhagwan Mahavir attained nirvana over 2600 years ago and taught the world the Jain view of reality and the supreme path of liberation. His timeless teachings of the ultimate truth are as relevant and complete today as they were then. However, over time, the message has become diluted and its essence covered by myriads of beliefs, customs, and practices. Our values change as we become increasingly attracted to material existence. Though we feel the need for something more significant for ourselves, realizing the truth of our being eludes us. We are fortunate that from time to time, some exceptional enlightened beings arise amongst us. Through their infinite compassion, they shine a light on our true nature and illuminate the very same timeless path, but in our time and place, and for our ultimate well-being. One such person was Srimad Rajchandra. He was born in Vavania, Gujarat, 1867. From early childhood, he exhibited exceptional spiritual and intellectual qualities. A profound spiritual experience occurred at the age of 7 when he spontaneously recollected hundreds of his previous births while immersed in deep contemplation. In his own words, he had been a spiritual seeker for many a lifetime. As Srimadji grew older, he continually scaled to the highest spiritual skies. He was an enlightened being who lived in the supreme state of soul consciousness. He was a visionary who unearthed the essence of Jainism and laid bare foundations of spirituality for a new era, rekindling the passion of spiritual path for countless seekers. His life and works are an invitation to us to turn within and discover the eternal truths. Honored as the spiritual guide of Mahatma Gandhi, Srimad Rajchandraji had a tremendous and formative influence on the father of the nation. Gandhiji wrote of Srimadji in 1930, "Such was the man who captivated my heart in religious matters as no other man has till now. He was a remarkable poet-philosopher, simple, precise, and immensely profound. Srimadji's literary works are an expression of his supreme inner state. From the vast archives of his philosophical literature, the crown jewel is Sri Atmasiddhi Shastra, a 142-verse poetic masterpiece. This year, we celebrate the 125th anniversary of the composition of Sri Atmasiddhi Shastra. It was composed in 1896 on the sacred day of Asowad Ekam in Nadiad, Gujarat, by Srimadji at the age of 28, in a single sitting of 1.5 hours. It was written at the humble request of his dear spiritual seeker and soulmate, Sri Sobhagbai, who had been studying Srimadji previously, Srimad's previous letter on the 6 fundamental truths and wanted something he could more easily commit to memory and continually contemplate. The result is a most remarkable epic composition that is the heart of the path of liberation, a concise encyclopedia of spirituality, the core of scriptures, and the quintessence of Jain philosophy. It is the simplest means to comprehend every essential constituent of the path to liberation for every seeker. Srimadji's writing was such that no word he wrote needed to be changed. Every word is perfectly used in every verse. Every verse flows flawlessly and encapsulates profound spiritual thought in an easy to understand way. Such an inspired and a perfect flow of words is a testament to Srimadji's enlightened state, pure thought process, and his literary genius. The subject of Sri Atmasiddhi is the soul. In Sri Atmasiddhi Shastra, Srimad establishes clearly and concisely the nature of the soul at the intellectual level using philosophical concepts and logic, and shows us the path to self-realization at an experiential level. Sri Atmasiddhi Shastra shows us the pitfalls of misguided spiritual practices and how to correct them, to avoid dogma and religious vanity, to focus on the true purpose and act accordingly to achieve it. It shows us the importance of a true living enlightened master, their qualities, so that we can identify them, and the supreme benefit of surrendering our ego to them. The paramount importance of humility is highlighted. Srimadji beautifully establishes the 6 fundamental truths through a dialogue between a true seeker and an enlightened guru. The seeker is earnestly looking for clarity by raising his doubts. This draws the guru's compassion, who clarifies each doubt, preparing the seeker for the path of spirituality and showing him the method of self-realization and liberation. In this way, he establishes that the soul exists. The soul is eternal. The soul is doer of its karma. The soul is a receiver of the fruits of its karma. The liberation exists. The path to liberation exists. In the very same verses, Srimad Ji presents the 6 schools of thought without naming specific faiths or negating them. In this way, Jain philosophy is shown to be all-encompassing. Using this dialogue, Srimad Ji is able to explain profound philosophical concepts in a way that is neutral, logical, and understandable to most people. He shows us that a seeker should use logic and reasoning to become thoroughly convinced about the nature of the soul. He describes the virtues that flower in a seeker as he embarks on the path that make him worthy of attaining self-realization, including the subsidence of passions such as anger, pride, conceit, and greed, a desire of liberation and no other desire, and compassion for all living beings. He goes on to describe the path of liberation in a beautiful and elegant flow of verses, taking us from the current state to a state of liberation. A seeker with the necessary virtues, who has the good fortune of being in contact with the teachings of an enlightened mentor, and who follows them correctly, is shown to progress on the right path, first to self-realization as the awareness of his true nature is experienced, and then to omniscience as right conduct purifies the soul and it abides in uninterrupted awareness. Srimad Ji affirms that moksha is our true nature, that we are infinite in perception, infinite knowledge, and unobstructed bliss. But it is a question of realization. Srimad Ji implores us to contemplate to achieve that state. The true seeker is overwhelmed with the compassion of the Guru and expresses his deep gratitude. Aho, aho, Sri Sadguru, Karuna Sindhu Apar, Apamar Para Prabhu Karyo, Aho, aho, Upakar. Oh, blessed Guru, unfathomable ocean of compassion, you have immensely obligated this downtrodden being. Sri Atmasiddhi Shastra is an invaluable gift that re-illuminates the true path propounded by Mahavir Bhagwan. It is a spiritual masterpiece that provides us with the inspiration, conviction, and method to progress on the spiritual path to fulfill our highest purpose and potential. As a literary work, it is more than remarkable. Its spiritual height and depth are unfathomable, and the benefit it bestows upon us is unimaginable. In gratitude for this most precious gem, we bow down at the lotus feet of the Enlightened One that has bestowed this on us. Deha chata jeni dasha varte dehati te gnani na charanama ho vandana aganit. My innumerable salutations at the feet of the Enlightened One, who is beyond the body, though embodied. To celebrate this anniversary, we have a special program recorded exclusively for this event at Sri Raj Sabha Ashram, which we will launch later in this event. This program will be approximately 25 minutes and is in Gujarati. I apologize if I have contradicted the words of the Enlightened Ones by thought, word, or deed, and spoken against the teaching, any of their teachings. Michhami Dukram. I now request Mehul Bhai to take over for the next presentation. Thank you, and Jai Jinendra.
Thank you, Jaisupai, for those wonderful words. So we are now ready for our pilgrimage to Girnar, and many of you will know that Girnar is the place of moksha of our 22nd Tirthankar, Sri Neminath Bhagwan. It is also a major place of pilgrimage for many Jains near the Gujarat town of Junagadh. And many of you will also know that it, together with Palitana, Ranakpur, Taranga, others, are managed by the very famous Anandji Kalyanji Pedi, which looks after them. But what happens when, for example, you find cracks in domes that were created 1,000 years ago? What happens when you look at sculptures that need to be recarved or restored in some sort of way? And as you go through, what sort of beautiful temples are there? To tell us all this and more, I am absolutely delighted that Sri Samvek Bhai Lal Bhai, who is the president of the Anandji Kalyanji Pedi, is here with us today to explain this to us, show us some video footage and some photos. And I'm delighted to welcome him. Sri Samvek Bhai.
My lords, honorable members, the board of the Institute of Jainology, ladies and gentlemen, Pranam. It is an honor and privilege to be there amongst you today through electronic media to make a presentation on one of our most important pilgrimage, Mount Girnar. On 5th March 2019, I was personally there to make a presentation on our trust, Anandji Kalyanji, which is nearly 3 centuries old. Mount Girnar is very sacred to all sects of Hindus and Jains. There are quite a few temples belonging to both the religions on this mountain, and devotees in millions come for worshipping and meditating. Quite a few devotees circumambulate the mountain once a year. Jainism is one of the oldest religions of the world, and the principles of the religion are laid down from time to time by 24 Tirthankars, or the ford makers, within a specific time cycle. In the current time cycle, the 22nd Tirthankar, Lord Neminath, renounced the world, attained enlightenment, and attained liberation from this mountain. Jainism is an atheist religion and does not believe in a creator. It believes that the existence of universe is from time immemorial to infinity and is self-governing as per the karma, which is a deed of every soul, and believing that every karma has its cause and effect based on action and reaction of souls. The religion believes in rebirth and death of a soul until the soul liberates itself by the highest conduct, which is principle of supreme non-violence, the extent of not hurting any other living being physically, mentally, or even verbally. Principle of detachment from material things. Principle of coexistence of live and let live. I am now presenting you few slides of Jain temples at this place and the restoration and maintenance work carried on by us. This will be quite interesting for you. The main temple is of Lord Neminath, the 22nd ford maker. Here on the dome, we noticed a little distortion and physical movement of the stone structure. Now there is a dome underneath this dome and totally having 7 to 8 feet distance between the two, a gap between the two. Our expert temple architect, along with a very experienced structural engineer, went between the two domes and found that at certain places there were wooden beams placed to support the stone structure of the dome above. These had rotted with age. We carefully replaced these beams recently to strengthen the structure further. However, we are still observing if there is any further movement in the structure. If so, we will dismantle the dome by numbering the stones, correct the imbalance, if any, and reconstruct the dome using the same pieces of stone. The other slides of the temples, which were having lime cover over them and which had turned black with algae over a period of years. On examination, we realized that this coating was done much later after the temples were built. We removed the lime coating and to our very pleasant surprise, sandstone structures were revealed. So the color of the temples after restoration is light yellow, which is the natural color of the sandstone instead of black. Particularly, the spire which we are showing, when we were restoring, we removed again the lime layer and exquisite designs and carvings came out, which is absolutely magical and magnificent. A short video clip is worth seeing. The lime chips off very easily with a light tap of chisel. Here you can see how the lime layer is chipped off, bringing out age-old beautiful carvings. These we'll keep as it is or restore them very carefully, because as per the tenets, the temple has to be complete. Restoration will be done by getting exactly the same type of stone, and the models of the broken parts will be reconstructed in plaster of Paris. And from these models, exact same parts will be carved out of the stone to match the figures and fixed by copper clip, as copper does not decay like iron, which damages the stone in the longer run. I request you to visit our website www.anandjikalyanjipedi.org for further information on Anandji Kalyanji Trust, Mount Girnar and other pilgrimage places managed by this trust. I thank you all for your kind attention and patient hearing. I wish you all the health and safety for future. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Samvik Bhai, Lal Bhai, and amazing to see those beautiful 1,000-year-old temples. And I'm not alone, I'm sure, in wishing that as soon as the lockdown ends, to come back to Junagadh and climb Mount Girnar to see those beautiful temples in person. So now the time has come for our awards this year. And this year is a special year because we didn't give the awards last year. So we're going to double up on the 2 awards that we're giving this year, 2 in each category. And the categories are the OneJAIN Community Excellence Award and the same award but for young people. The award is given to those who go over and above the call of duty in their work, their projects, initiatives, and show that they are, becoming an example. And in the case of young people, also inspiring others to do voluntary service. And these awards are given every year. The nominations will be open very shortly for next year. So start thinking about who you want to nominate. We take nominations from everybody, the general public. The criteria will be up shortly on our website. This year, I believe we had over 30 nominations, and a heartfelt thank to the independent judges, who I won't name, but they make the decision on these awards, and we're grateful for their time and their effort. So to make these awards this year, and of course they will be given virtually this year, but we will give them in person as soon as we are able to. But to make the introduce the people who are going to read the citations, can I call upon my fellow trustee Dilip Bhai Shah, who will introduce the citations.
Thank you. Thank you, Mehul Bhai, for giving the outline on the awards and introducing me. Jai Jain to all. Amit Bhai Lathia and myself have coordinated the process for choosing these OneJAIN awards. Now I would like to invite Yogesh Bhai Rayani, President of Mahavir Foundation UK, to do the citation for OneJAIN Young Person Excellence Award. May I ask Yogesh Bhai to come on and do the citation, please?
Jai Jainendra, Pranam, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dilip Bhai. I'm here to introduce you to the OneJAIN Young Person Award. And my name is Yogesh Rayani. I'm president of Mahavir Foundation. Before we put the spotlight on this individual, we should recognize the effort of all of those who had put this excellent event together. First of all, let me thank the judges. Believe me, it was a difficult task for them with the number of candidates we had. Thank you, judges. We cannot forget the nominators. They presented us with the stars of our community. Thank you to the nominators. All the candidates should be thanked as well. You are our stars. Keep the good work up, and thank you for making the judges' work a bit difficult. Lastly, the organizers of this event, who had to arrange the event in this challenging time. Thank you. The person who is the recipient of this award has a powerful adjective, Seva. By profession being a doctor, Seva is part of curriculum, but has grabbed it by horns in community activities as well. The person can relate to Jain youth and more senior members of multiple communities as a second nature. Has taught Jainism in Gujarati school, has delivered a certificate course in Jainism, and delivered lectures with lecturers from Mumbai University. This is just a sample, but the list goes on and on and on. Be it carrying out Vayavach of Munis, or be it speaking about relation of medicine to Jainism, or be it organizing events involving an army of performers from various Jain organizations, an international star. The person's passion for giving is incomparable. At present, circumstances and with youth's less attendance to traditional gatherings, this person took the advantage of what youth know the best, social media. Projects Sadharmic Bhakti was evolved. Jainism in Asian Jain books is made available, accessible through YouTube videos to the community, as well as providing individuals with access to physical books that contain deeper knowledge. That indeed is a unique and a most valuable project. Since childhood, has been actively involved in the well-being of children, has been an active leader, Karyakar in Shishukunj. I can't suppress the suspense any longer. Please join me in congratulating a vibrant, dedicated, and Seva Bhavi individual, Dr. Mukulbhai Ajitbhai Shah. Welcome, Dr. Mukulbhai. Congratulations.
Pranam, I bow down to the pure soul within each of you. A tiny cog in whichever system, whether that's family system, where only because of amazing parents who've done everything for me since birth, and even now, a rock of a wife, in-laws who treat me like their own son, a brother so supportive, and now a daughter who's an inspiration for me to do my best for the next generations. Only because of family support can community work be possible. At work, whether it's ED, resus, ICU, nurses, porters, pharmacists, call handlers, all doing their job to treat patients, so I can do the same. At the community level, IOJ as an umbrella to the other 29-30 Jain organizations, providing platforms, sharing resources so freely, and allowing me to pursue something I'm so passionate about. So many working behind the scenes. Thank you. And most recently in the digital age, that has manifested through 2 YouTube channels. The first, outward facing, we're in this world today of global warming, of battles, of violence to animals, tools like ahimsa or non-violence to all 8.4 million species, anekanta or multiplicity of viewpoints, seeing the good in everyone, taking that and seeing virtues in all, and a parigraha, non-possessiveness, a panacea for global warming, and looking inwards, tools such as glad acceptance, like equanimity or samta, like roller coasters, ups and downs, sukma linnata, dukma dinnata, but be calm in each and every situation. So many tools within a Jain tradition to preserve for our children and our children's children, that the greatest treasure, the Aladdin's treasure of treasure, isn't all externally but within. That's the aim of these 2 channels. And in trying to do that, if man or pride ever goes to my head, please, as my friends, correct that and set me on the right path. I bow down to my parents, respected community elders, satos, satvis, and I hope one day I can even be a percentage of what all of you are. Thank you. Thank you so much for this platform.
Thank you, Yogesh Bhai, and thank you, Dr. Mukul. Now I would like to invite Mayur Bhai Mehta, President of Srimad Rajchandra Mission Dharampur, UK, to do the citation for the OneJAIN Young Person's Excellence Award. Thank you, Mayur Bhai. You can take over.
Jai. Thank you, Dilip Bhai, for my introduction. I'm particularly delighted to have been asked to announce OneJAIN Young Person's Excellence Award, where we see such inspiring and creative leadership coming from the future torchbearers of the Jain community. In these challenging times, we have seen young people step forward to offer care in the community, expressing in action Lord Mahavir's teachings of love and compassion. The award winner has shown exceptional ability to render invaluable community service on an inclusive basis, serving Jains and non-Jains alike. This year's awardee was born in Mumbai and moved to UK at the age of 7 to grow up in Brighton. She started volunteer work in her teens, and her inspiration and work ethic came from the values instilled from her parents, watching them look after others selflessly. She went on to study medicine at UCL, during which she spent some time in a hospital in Bangalore and in a charity organization in India for people with HIV. She has delivered health seminars for the various communities on many issues, from hypertension to mental well-being, in both Gujarati and English. Most recently, she became a part of a Jain health initiative, reaching out to over 25,000 people during talks on COVID-19 and the vaccines. In addition to her health talks touching lives of thousands, she has supported hundreds of parents through a program called DIY Health, which is a group learning program for parents of children aged 0 to 5. This health initiative has also helped to empower parents in managing their children's health and wider aspects of their own health, from getting the confidence to return back to work, to getting the support through trauma of domestic violence. This program grew and ran in multiple locations nationally and received an award from the British Medical Journal. Her love for learning and education led her to teach nurses, medical students, junior doctors, pharmacists, and physician associates. She has also been working for almost a decade at the Royal College of GPs, developing and delivering their online learning initiatives accessed by health staff internationally. She believes that having a good job has a huge impact on person's health and well-being. Thus, she is currently working towards developing a work experience program for those from deprived communities who may not otherwise have these opportunities. Her contribution to the community have helped to improve understanding of health and well-being in a way that wasn't accessible to many. And as a result, people have felt more empowered to look after themselves and the others. She believes that there is no better fulfillment than to be part of a bigger cause, and strongly feels this is what community service is all about. She's currently a partner at Bromley by Bow Health, a practice rated outstanding by CQC. She's a board member on a governing body of Tower Hamlets Clinical Commissioning Group, and above all, a very proud mom of 2 little girls aged 3 and 6, who are her inspiration for a better tomorrow. I am indeed delighted to announce that the recipient of OneJAIN Young Person's Excellence Award is Dr. Khyati Bakari. I now request Dr. Khyati to say a few words in acceptance of this prestigious award. Jai Jainendra, thank you.
Thank you all so much for this honour. I'm truly grateful and humbled to have been considered for such an award by a community that's so special to my family and I. I'd love to take a minute just to say some thank yous. Firstly, to my parents, the ones who have instilled in me the principles of Jainism, respect for all living things, the sense of duty to the community, and given me the best education as a tool to be able to carry out this duty. Thank you to the Southeast Jain Association for this nomination. I'm grateful to all of you who have celebrated all the Navratris, Mahavir Jayantis, and Paryushans whilst growing up. You've seen me study, go off to university, get married, and you have given my family a community ever since we've moved from Bombay to Brighton and then to Crawley. And I'm ever so grateful for your encouragement. A big thank you to my husband, Nish, who continually pulls out all the stops to support me and our family and inspires us with this endless energy to do better and be better. And finally, a thank you to my 2 little girls, Ria and Amaya, my inspiration for wanting to help create a happier and healthier community, a community within which they can thrive, be confident and happy. In 2012, when I completed my GP training, I stumbled upon an incredible organisation, the Bromley by Bow Health Partnership and the Bromley by Bow Centre charity. I feel incredibly lucky to be working with and learning from my amazing partners and colleagues in one of the most deprived parts of London, who wholeheartedly and tirelessly work towards improving the well-being of the community with the community, and with the belief that every one of us is an asset and has something to contribute to society. My work family has been nothing short of incredible, particularly through COVID-19. We have a motto at work that I hold close to me: assume it's possible, and I hope to always draw on this for many years of service and seva to the community. Thank you all very much, and Jai Jainendra.
Thank you, Mayubai, and thank you, Dr. Kayati. Now, I would like to introduce Ketan Bhai Adani, who is Vice President of Navnath Vanik Association of UK, to do the citation for OneJAIN Community Excellence Award. Ketan Bhai, I now hand over to you to continue, please.
Thank you, Dilip Bhai. Respected Samnijis, Mathenam Mandani, esteemed guests, and everybody celebrating Mahavir Janma Kalyanak through the auspices of OneJAIN across the world. It gives me great pleasure thank you, Dilip Bhai. I wasn't sure. I thought I had unmuted myself. Respected Samnijis, Mathenam Mandami, esteemed guests, and everybody enjoying Mahavir Janma Kalyanak through the auspices of OneJAIN. It gives me great pleasure and pride to introduce this OneJAIN Community Excellence Award winner. This individual has delivered a multifaceted contribution to our community and society at large while working full-time and taking care of her parents. She has given selfless voluntary seva to the Jain community for over 35 years, from leading bhakti sessions and organizing Jain pilgrimages to delivering events bringing the community together and inspiring others. Her contribution has touched thousands in the community and beyond. More recently, her passionate contribution to organ donation as an NHS blood and transplant ambassador includes speaking regularly at community events and at Royal Free Hospital. She encourages donor families and those waiting for transplants to share stories on social media, bringing awareness to thousands of people. She has led by example, having donated her kidney in 2018 to her niece Shakti. She's a key member of the Jain and Hindu Organ Donation Steering Group that was launched at an event hosted by Lord Jitesh Gadhia at the House of Commons. She works closely with NHSBT to create promotional content and stories from the Jain community that inspire others. She has helped Jain organizations to secure funding from NHSBT to promote organ donation. Her passion for seva crosses global and institutional boundaries and includes humanitarian projects. An example of this is working with 7 others to deliver a 21-day mobility camp in the Jain Pilgrimage Center of Palitana. This was inaugurated by Shri Narendra Bhai Modi and benefited 26,000 people with disabilities. A historic visit by His Excellency the Dalai Lama to Palitana and the camp brought into focus Jain Seva to a global audience of millions via the BBC World Service. I'm delighted to announce the recipient of OneJAIN Community Excellence Award is Prafulla Shah. Thank you, and Prafulla Bhai.
Jai Jinendra and good afternoon. I am truly humbled to be awarded this OneJAIN Community Excellence Award, which I would like to dedicate to my parents, Somcham Megji Shah and Kasturben. They taught me the value of seva and giving from a very early age. I thank them and my family for always supporting me and encouraging me. I want to thank my nominator for making this award possible, a selfless individual who always does her best for everyone. I have had the privilege of serving the community through Jain organizations including Sri Navyug Jain Pragati Mandar, Bhakti Mandar, Jain Network, and Oshwal Association of the UK. Throughout my 35 years of community service, I have learned a great deal from my peers. And I've come to appreciate the rich tapestry that makes up our community and makes it so special. I'm touched by the volunteers who give seva to make a community better. This pandemic has taught us the value of seva and building communities. I will continue to give seva wherever it is needed. There are many moments that stand out, but two in particular: my work on the Palitana mobility camp and my kidney donation. Organ donation is a subject very close to my heart, and I will continue to promote this to transform lives. I thank you all again for giving me this Jain Community Award, and I wish you all a happy Mahavir Janma Kalyanak, the birth and the celebration of the birth of Bhagwan Mahavir. It is his teachings that guide me daily. Thank you.
Thank you, Ketan Bhai and Prafulla Ben. Now, I would like to invite Nilesh Pai Shah, the President of Oswald Association of UK, to do the citation for the OneJAIN Community Excellence Award. Nilesh Pai, over to you, please.
Thank you, Dilip Pai, Jai Jinendra, and Pranam to everybody. Thank you for OneJAIN to organize today's event, and also very much thank you, judges who have obviously selected the awardees for tonight. It's a great honor and privilege to have an opportunity to read the citation of the well-deserved and a worthy awardee who I have known for many years. He came to UK in 1973 at a young age and trained himself as a fashion designer and established his own business. In 1999, he had a setback and was advised to use a wheelchair in view of his disability. For the last 20 years, he has dedicated his life to do a seva work. Despite having a disability since childhood, nothing has stopped him from achieving his dreams and ambitions. Despite his own disability, he realized other people's needs were greater than his, which inspired him to help others in the community. This inspiration came when his 92-year-old grandma was hospitalized in 1999 with Alzheimer's. Since 2000, he has worked with various hospital departments, helping with the administration work, as well as supporting the patients. He was nominated as a Jain representative by the hospital chaplaincy and became the patient body, visiting and supporting inpatients who have few or no visitors. Being able to make them smile and making them feel loved was very heartwarming for him. There have also been emotional times when he had been with the patients with their last moments, and he was reciting the prayers for them. Through his work, he had by now helped build many friends within the community at large. In 2013, he was awarded the Pride of the North West London Hospital Staff Excellence Award as a Volunteer of the Year. And in 2020, he also received an award for his 20 years of loyal and a dedicated service. He has also worked with young Jains, with both in the committee and in non-executive roles, organizing many events, and volunteered himself on projects with many of Jain organizations in the UK. I seem to recall back 6 years back when Osho Association of UK had hosted a religious play and we were doing the auditions, and he came to me and said, Nilesh Pai, I would very much like to participate in this play, and would you consider giving me an appropriate role, as I have the disability, so would not be able to do the stage roles activities. This showed his sheer determination and keenness to help and volunteer. So giving further thoughts, I had given him the part which he can comfortably participate in the play and be the part of the whole cast team. He has worked closely with all the Samnijis at Jain Vishwa Bharati in London. In addition, he had volunteered at Aspire Royal National Orthopedic Hospital, supporting the patients with the spinal injuries. He has also been involved in various other disability charities in UK. This person is incredibly positive in his approach to life, and nothing is impossible for him, and hopefully this will inspire the other people as well, and staying on the path of his spiritual progression. It gives me a great pleasure to announce the winner of the OneJAIN Community Excellence Award is Jatin Kumar Amratlal Narshi Shah for his long-standing and exemplary service to the community. Our heartiest congratulations to Jatin Bhai. Thank you for listening. I now request Jatin Bhai to say a few words for winning this award. Thank you.
Respected Shamnis, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am extremely honored to be receiving such a prestigious award in recognition of my voluntary work in the community. I have found an amazing path to happiness and satisfaction in my life. Amongst all the different types of voluntary work I do, I have enjoyed helping at the hospital the most. Despite my own physical challenges, I have gained much strength and motivation from the people I have met there. I have admired the bravery of inpatients in pain who have few or no visitors, and even those in their last moments. It has been very satisfying to make them smile, feel loved, and recite prayers for them. Some 20 years ago, I was introduced to Praksha Dhyan by the respected Samanis. This art of Jain meditation has helped me to control my own pain so that I am able to reach out and help people with similar difficulties. Of course, none of my work would have been possible without the support of my parents, Amritlal and Jayabai Shah, my wife, Kushmita, and my family and friends for whom I have the deepest respect. I would like my work to inspire and motivate everyone to come forward and help. My disability has not stopped me, and all together we can make a big difference in the community. I pray that I always get the strength to continue doing what I really enjoy. Jai Jinendra.
Thank you, Nilesh Bhai, and thank you, Jatin Bhai. A big thank you to all the awardees for accepting the awards and those for reading the citations, and also to the independent judges who did a marvelous job. Now, I would like to hand over to Himanshu Jain, who is my fellow director and trustee at Institute of Jainology, to continue with the rest of the program. Thank you. Jai Jindra and Jamindukram.
Thank you, Dilip Bhai, and Jai Jinendra to all. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to a dramatic loss of human life worldwide and presented an unprecedented challenge to public health, food system, and the world of work. The economic and social disruption caused by pandemic has been devastating. Locally, it led all of us to stay at home and face issues like isolation and mental health. It has been a difficult year all around, but the pandemic has led to an amazing response from our community, with all Jain organizations coming forward to help not only Jains, but the larger communities around us. This wonderful community spirit has been commended by one and all. There is so much more to be proud of about our OneJAIN organizations coming together and helping each other. Each organization created their own set of activities to keep members engaged and help the needy. At the last OneJAIN conference, we asked several organizations to share what they have done during the pandemic, and we were all amazed by what we saw and heard. Now that the COVID-19 restrictions are easing and we can all see the light at the end of the tunnel today, we have asked 3 more organizations to share their stories and with us, to tell us how they kept their membership engaged whilst being locked in their own homes and their overall response to the pandemic. So without further ado, let me invite Vikrant Bhai Jain from Young Jains.
Jai Jinendra. Young Jains UK is a non-sectarian organization that aims to spread message of Jainism in the Western world. 2020 has been a very challenging year for all of us. Despite all the challenges, Young Jain teams brought together a series of programs throughout the year. At the very start of the pandemic, and at a mere short 1 week's notice, Young Jain's team organized Mahavir Janma Kalyanak 2020 that was attended by more than 400 participants. With over 20 people taking part in digital performances, storytelling, and narration, that was the largest of its kind at that time. At Young Jains, again starting at the very beginning of the pandemic, a core team came together to run enriching conversation evening sessions, starting at twice per week frequency. These conversations were deeply enriching. They allowed members to share their feelings, understand Jain values and concepts, and participants then took their learnings into practical application during their week. We picked virtues from the Jain treasury, shared it with the audience, and turned their learnings into practical applications, helping the community to face this hard time more resiliently and courageously. Through these enriching conversation sessions, Young Jains enable people to actually practice Dharma, rather than keep it an aspiration or something for the books. We are very happy to see many people participate, yet more than that, we were happy to see people imbibe Jainism in the true sense into their daily life and day-to-day life. Many stories of eye-opening insights and practical changes have arisen as a result of these breakout sessions and workshops every week. Insights have also been shared across social media, benefiting the wider community. We were very blessed to have international audience from US, Europe, and also from other parts of UK routinely contributing to these conversations. In November 2020, we also had a very successful Diwali event organized in collaboration with SCVP that was attended by more than 500 of our community members, celebrating the Nirvana of Lord Mahavira. Young Jain teams also contributed to the BBC article covering the Jain perspective of Diwali and the deep meaning and symbolism behind many of the activities in which we Jains partake in during Diwali. Young Jain's team also wholeheartedly supported the Choose Other Select Jain initiative by OneJAIN. It was very important to correctly identify ourselves as Jains in UK Census 2021, as this will benefit the Jain community and the UK for years to come. This was once in a decade opportunity and required cross-organization team effort. Young Jain's magazine team also brought out 3 very successful editions of the magazine with very thought-provoking articles. We are very proud of the way we bring young people together in UK. I'm really grateful and thankful to our team of wonderful organizers and volunteers for their dedicated support. Thanks to OneJAIN team for giving us the opportunity today. Thanks for your wholehearted support as well. Wish everyone happy Mahavir Janma Kalyanak. Jai Jinendra. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikrant Bhai. Can I now invite Usha Ben Mehta from Jain Samaj Europe, Leicester?
Jain Samaj Europe, Jain Center Leicester, the President Usha Mehta Badane Pranam. COVID-19. 1 year ago, we were all hit with that word. And with that came the pandemic and the concern about public health. And there was a government guidance for an immediate lockdown, and that included worship places. That was the hardest decision our committee has ever had to make, or any committee in the history of Jain Center had to make about closing Jain Center. Closing Jain Center and letting our public know that this is what is happening, we all thought it's going to be a short-lived event. But as the time went on, we knew this was here to stay for a whole year. With that came in issues that we as a committee had to address. How are we going to keep our devotees connected? How are we going to communicate with our devotees? How are we going to keep their mental and spiritual health going? And how are we going to support them physically? Our committee came up with an intense response of creating a support group that contacted every single Leicester members to see if they needed any support. And the message went out there to contact any of these youngsters in case of need. And our IT team came up with a technology and started looking at ways of how we can stream things or do things online that will keep our devotees connected. Zoom at that time was an unknown word in our household, but today it is the main word in our household. Our IT team did a wonderful job and have come up with Zoom, YouTube, where all our events get streamed. We have a satsang every Saturday and Sunday, and that in the beginning was a little bit hit and miss because everybody was doing a trial and error run. But now it has become the excessive part of our life. And we have not only joined Leicester people, but people worldwide have connected with Jain Center Leicester. And we have managed to celebrate all our Jain events over the year. Pajoshan, Ambel, Shantinath Dada Kalyanak, Mahavir Janma Kalyanak, Poshtashmi, and it has been, people have actually connected with us and kept themselves spiritually uplifted, mentally uplifted, and we are very grateful in Leicester that nobody has actually had a very bad reaction or bad experience with COVID-19. We are very, very proud of our community that have really adhered to government guidance that have been given by the committee online to our members, that has kept us safe in our house. Now we are onto our way of reopening. We are hoping to do it very slowly but safely and keep our members safe. At the same time, we are very, very grateful to platforms like OneJAIN, Leicester Council of Faith, Leicester City Council, and government guidelines that have kept us in contact with all the changes which have really been turbulent in our lives. I take this opportunity to thank every single members, all our devotees of Leicester, all our devotees of UK and worldwide that have supported Jain Samaj Europe. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Usha Ben. For our third presentation today, please welcome Pooja Jain from Acharya Shri Vidyasagar Digambar Jain Charitable Trust.
And everyone, thank you to the OneJAIN for giving us an opportunity to interact with you all. I am proudly representing Acharya Shri Vidyasagar Digambar Jain Charitable Trust. During COVID-19 pandemic, we all have witnessed testing time both on the personal and professional fronts. Our trust has conducted a range of impeccable online events to build community feel and to encourage society to come together in a meaningful manner. We have been able to achieve all this under the guidance of Brahmachari Shri Vijay Bhaiyaji and with the blessings from Acharya Shri Vidyasagarji Maharaj and Acharya Shri Pramashagarji Maharaj. From the onset of first lockdown, the Trust has extended help to the general public by supporting essentials and collecting prescribed medicines and grocery orders for those who were in need. Online prayers are regularly being conducted for global peace and wellness by the Trust. The Trust's activity have been highly conducive in engaging the community and to strengthen the Jain values and culture. Online celebrations of key Jain events and workshops on the history of Jainism led by Bhattarak Sri Chaturkirtiji and scientific associations around Jainism with Acharya Kanaknandiji are some of the examples. A remarkable and undisrupted initiative from the Trust has been free online Jain Pathshala for kids. For adults as well, we have regular Swadhyaya evenings for more than a year now. This helps us understand Jain Agam, holy verses and various religious books. Innumerable Dhamik Kahoot have kept the entire community bonded and gave all of us a reason to enjoy our time indoors in a delightful manner. In the series of looking after social well-being, Arham Yog workshops were also conducted by the Trust. Active engagement of the community through Trust activities have resulted in 3 online cultural activities which are facilitated by the Trust Mahila Mandal, where in moving depiction of the leading Jain stories were presented by twin and the children's. Social event whereby information around grammar schools and high studies to the top-ranked UK universities were detailed by professional entities and successful experienced Trust member. With this, I'll take a hold and congratulate OneJAIN for establishing a collaborative framework under the flagship of Jainism. Jainam Jaitu Shashni.
Thank you, Poojaji. We have seen 3 wonderful presentations. We hope that this community spirit will continue and we will keep hearing these wonderful stories. With that, please welcome my fellow director and trustee of IOJ, Jaisubhai Mehta, to take us through the next section of today's event. Jai Jain.
Jai Jinendra. Hello, Jai Jinendra.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Once again, Jai Jinendra to everyone. As Himanshu Bhai said, I'm his fellow director at the Institute of Jainology. I'm also a member of the Jain Health Initiative strategic team. The Jain Health Initiative team has delivered a great service to the community in the past few months. And I take this opportunity to recognize it on behalf of OneJAIN. Last year, by June 2020, it had become apparent that Black and Asian people were at a greater risk of death from the COVID-19 virus. There seemed to be a need for a coordinated Jain community response to address the worries of people about the disease and the vaccines. In December 2020, Ashwin Mehta, representing SRMG, made an appeal through OneJAIN to recognize all community leaders, to form a team of medical experts to provide relevant, accurate, and up-to-date information and advice on COVID-19. The response was overwhelmingly positive, and the first event took place in early January in Gujarati. It achieved a viewing figure of over 25,000. Since then, 4 other events have taken place, and the total viewing figures exceed 40,000. The quality and expertise of these events have been made possible by medical professionals and many other volunteers from the UK Jain organizations. They have selflessly given many hours on top of their already long working hours. They had to work hard to be able to deliver the presentations in Gujarati, but they managed well. We take this opportunity to recognize these volunteers who have helped create and deliver what we hope will become a lasting and valuable resource for well-being of all Jains and the wider community. Now we'll run a slide of names of these volunteers. Please note that these names are in alphabetical order and do not include their titles like a doctor, consultant, surgeon, or a scientist. We have listed 42 volunteers. In case I have missed out any name, please accept my sincere apology and do let me know of the omission so that we can rectify our list. Also, we thank all these volunteers and also invite you to join this effort if you are able to help in any way. Our next webinar on Sunday, 9th May, will contain an update on vaccination issues before the main topic of diabetes. We look forward to seeing you all then. In the meantime, we wish everyone an uplifting and healthy Mahavir Jayanti. Now I will hand over to my other fellow director, Vinay Bhai Shah, to give a vote of thanks. Please note that after the vote of thanks, we have a special presentation on the life of Srimad and the 125 years of celebrating Atma Siddhi created by members of Sri Raj Sabha Satsang Mandal. So please stay on, don't log off. Thank you. Jai Jinendra.
Can I speak now?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Jaisubhai, for OneJAIN host. Am I on the screen?
Go ahead, Vinay.
Okay, Jai Jinendra all. Thank you very much for Jaisubhai for introducing me. My job is to thank everybody who has participated in this event. Thank you to all the participants, speakers on this auspicious day of Bhagwan Mahavir Janma Kalyanak, namely children from the JVB Gyanshala. What a wonderful prayer. Pujya Shramniji, Dr. Pratibha Pragya for life and message of Bhagwan Mahavir. For all two our MPs, Bob Blackman and Gareth Thomas, for the thoughts of the day. To the wonderful servants by Sagar Malde, Rupal Shah, Raju Punata. The next is the congratulations to all the award winners. Jatin Shah, Dr. Khyati Bakhai, Dr. Mukul Shah, Prafula Shah, and their sponsors and the people who read their citations, Yogesh Rayani, Mayur Mehta, Ketan Adani, and Nilesh Shah. I also would like to thank Kevali Shah from the Cambridge University Jain Society for giving us how the society works and forming a society there. To Mr. Saveg Lalbhai from Anandji Kalyanji Pedi for wonderful pictures of the pilgrimage site Girnar
and giving us the idea of how they have done the restoration work of everything. I would also like to thank Mrs. Minal Shah and Vikram Shah from Raj Subhag Satsang Mandal, who has provided the next video, which will be coming after my event. I also like to thank our community leaders, Mr. Vikram Jain from Young Jains, Mrs. Usha Mehta from Jain Samaj Europe Leicester, and Mrs. Pooja Jain from Acharya Vidyasagar Digambar Jain Association. Lastly, thank you to all the people who have been watching and listening to this event, and for your patience with all the thanks. And it's been a wonderful event. And thank you very much indeed for giving me a chance to say a word of thanks. Thank you.
ओम आप सर्वेने जय जिनेन्द्र.
વિક્રમ સંવત 1924ની કાર્તિકી પૂર્ણિમાના રવિવારે તારીખ 9 નવેમ્બર 1867ના રોજ રાત્રે 2 વાગ્યે કાઠિયાવાડના મોરબી નજીક વવાણિયા ગામમાં દિવ્યાત્મા માતા દેવબાઈને શ્રીમદ રાજચંદ્રના માતા બનવાનું મહાભાગ્ય પ્રાપ્ત થયું. પિતા રવજી પંચાળની 71 પેઢીને તારનાર કુળ દીપક પ્રગટ્યો. તેમના આત્મિક જીવન વિશે જાણતા પહેલા પ્રથમ ચાલો આપણે સ્તુતિ કરીએ. મહાદિવ્યા કુક્ષે રત્નમ શબ્દજીત રવાત્મજમ રાજચંદ્ર महं वन्दे तत्त्वलोचनदायकं प्रभु तत्त्वलोचनदायकं. હું કોણ છું? હું ક્યાંથી થયો? શું સ્વરૂપ છે મારું સાચું ખરું? કોના સંબંધે આ બધી વરગણા છે? શું એને રાખું કે પરહરું? આપ્ત પુરુષોના વચનામૃત આપણા સ્વયંના અસ્તિત્વની ઊંડી વિચારણાનો આરંભ કરાવી આત્મ સ્વરૂપની ઓળખાણ કરાવવા સમર્થ હોય છે. શ્રીમદ રાજચંદ્ર આવા જ યુગ પ્રધાન આગમ ઉદ્ધારક મહાત્મા થઈ ગયા. શ્રીમદના માતા દેવબા રોજ સામાયિક તેમજ પ્રતિક્રમણ કરતા. પ્રતિક્રમણ સૂત્રમાં રહેલો સમસ્ત જીવ રાશિ પ્રત્યેનો સૂક્ષ્મ અહિંસા ભાવ તેમજ સર્વે પ્રત્યેનો મૈત્રી ભાવનાનો બોધને જાણી શ્રીમદને જિનેશ્વર ભગવાન તેમજ તેમણે પ્રરૂપિત જૈન ધર્મ પ્રત્યે અત્યંત બહુમાન થયું હતું.
At the young age of 7, Amichan Bhai, who loved Srimad a lot and who lived in the same Vavania village, died of snake bite. The question arose in young Srimad's mind as to what does it mean to die? Dada Panchan Bhai explained he would not eat, drink, get up, move or walk. His soul has left its body. His mortal remains will now be burnt at the cemetery. Hearing this, Srimad went into deep contemplation. Soul has left? What is that element? What is that power which makes this body function? What makes this body look alive? To get answers to his questions, Srimad secretly went to the crematorium. અમીચંદ ભાઈના શરીરને લાકડા વચ્ચે બળતા જોઈ તેમના અંતરંગમાં મનોમંથન ચાલ્યું. તેમની આંતરિક નિર્મળતા અને પૂર્વ ભાવના ઉત્તમ જ્ઞાન સંસ્કારને કારણે તેમને 7 વર્ષની લઘુ વય પૂર્વજન્મોનું સ્મરણ થયું. અને એ હકીકત પણ નોંધાયેલી છે કે શ્રીમદને પૂર્વના 900 ભવોનું જ્ઞાન થયું હતું. તેઓ વિતરાગ ભગવાન મહાવીરના અંતેવાસી શિષ્ય હતા.
7 વર્ષથી 11 વર્ષ સુધીનો કાળ કેળવણી લેવામાં પસાર થયો. અતિશય સ્મૃતિના ધારક, તેઓ આશ્ચર્ય ઉપજાવે એવા તેજસ્વી વિદ્યાર્થી હતા. ભણેલાને શું ભણાવવું એવો ભાવ શિક્ષકોને થતો. 8 વર્ષે તેમણે પ્રથમ કવિતા કરી હતી. 16 વર્ષ અને 5 માસની ઉંમરે વિક્રમ સંવત 1940માં જૈન દર્શનની ઉત્તમ સમજણ આપતો, 108 પાઠ ધરાવતો મોક્ષમાળા નામનો ગ્રંથ શ્રીમદે માત્ર 3 દિવસમાં લખ્યો હતો. 19 વર્ષની વયે મુંબઈમાં કાવસજી ફરામજી ઇન્સ્ટિટ્યૂટમાં સમાજના જુદા જુદા ક્ષેત્રોના અગ્રણી મહાનુભાવોની ઉપસ્થિતિમાં 100 અવધાન કરીને સાક્ષાત સરસ્વતી અને હિંદના હીરાનો ઇલકાબ તેઓ પામ્યા હતા. ત્યારબાદ વર્તમાન પત્રોમાં શ્રીમદના યશોગાન ગવાવા લાગ્યા હતા. આખું ભારત જ્યારે તેમને વધાવવા તત્પર હતું, ત્યારે તેઓએ સંસાર પ્રત્યે ઉદાસીન બની પ્રચુર વૈરાગ્ય ભાવને વધાવી લીધો. તેમના મનમાં રહેલા ભાવને પત્ર મારફત જણાવતા તેઓ લખે છે, જે પૂર્વના ભવાંતરે ભ્રાંતિપણે ભ્રમણ કર્યું તેનું સ્મરણ થતા હવે કેમ જીવવું એ ચિંતના થઈ પડી છે. ફરી ન જ જન્મવું અને ફરી એમ ન જ કરવું એવું દ્રઢત્વ આત્મામાં પ્રકાશે છે. સર્વસંગ પરિત્યાગી થઈ સંયમી જીવન જીવવા માટેની ઝૂરણા છતાં માતાના અતિ વાત્સલ્ય ભાવને પોતાનું ઋણાનુબંધ કર્મ જાણી નિર્મોહી શ્રીમદજીએ નમવું પડ્યું અને સંસારમાં રહેવું પડ્યું. 20 વર્ષની ઉંમરે ઈચ્છા ન હોવા છતાં ઝબકબેન સાથે લગ્ન કર્યા અને પોતાના કાકાજી સસરા શ્રી રેવાશંકર જગજીવન સાથે ભાગીદારીમાં ઝવેરાતનો વ્યવસાય મુંબઈમાં શરૂ કર્યો. બાહ્યમાં સંસાર ભોગવતા છતાં તેઓનું મન આત્મભાવને, જ્ઞાનની અવિરત ધારાને ઝંખતું રહ્યું. તે સમયગાળામાં શ્રીમદ કોઈ મહાજ્ઞાની પુરુષની શોધમાં હતા.
તેવામાં 67 વર્ષના શ્રી સૌભાગભાઈ પોતાના પિતા લલ્લુભાઈની આજ્ઞા લઈ પિતા પાસેથી પ્રાપ્ત સુધારસ નામની યોગ ક્રિયાની બીજ જ્ઞાનની પરમાર્થ રહસ્યભૂત વાત દર્શાવવા 23 વર્ષના પરમ યોગ્ય, પરમ શતાવધાની આધ્યાત્મિક કવિ શ્રીમદજીને મળવા આવી પહોંચ્યા. તે પ્રથમ મુલાકાત બાદ શ્રીમદના આધ્યાત્મિક જીવનને એક જબરજસ્ત પુષ્ટિ મળી. સૌભાગભાઈને મળ્યા બાદ શ્રીમદજી કોઈ અપૂર્વ સમાધિમાં લીન થઈ ગયા. અત્યાર સુધીની સાધનામાં પરમાર્થની જે કડી ખૂટતી હતી તે શ્રી સૌભાગભાઈના મિલનથી સાંપડી. આ ઉપકારની સ્મૃતિમાં કૃતજ્ઞ શ્રીમદે આગળ જતા પરમાર્થ સખા સૌભાગભાઈને પરમ ભાવથી નમસ્કાર કર્યા છે. હે શ્રી સૌભાગ, તારા સત્સમાગમના અનુગ્રહથી આત્મદશાનું સ્મરણ થયું, તે અર્થે તને નમસ્કાર કરું છું. શ્રીમદના આધ્યાત્મિક જીવનનો એક મહાન અમૃત પ્રસંગ વિક્રમ સંવત 1947માં બન્યો. શુદ્ધ સમ્યક દર્શનની પ્રાપ્તિ થઈ. પરમાર્થ સખા સૌભાગભાઈ પર લખાયેલા પત્રમાં શ્રીમદ પોતાના આત્મ અનુભવનો હર્ષ આલેખે છે. આત્મજ્ઞાન પામ્યો એ તો નિસંશય છે. ગ્રંથિભેદ થયો એ ત્રણેય કાળમાં સત્ય વાત છે.
જ્ઞાન દિવાકર શ્રીમદના દિવ્ય જ્ઞાનના પ્રકાશને આત્મસાત કરનાર વિશિષ્ટ મુમુક્ષુઓમાં સૌભાગભાઈ, મુનિશ્રી લલ્લુજી, જુઠાલાલભાઈ તેમજ અંબાલાલભાઈ હતા. તદુપરાંત અનેક મુમુક્ષુજનો શ્રીમદ પાસેથી જીવન જ્યોત પામ્યા હતા. તેમાંનું એક નામ ઉલ્લેખ કર્યા વિના ન રહી શકાય. તે છે રાષ્ટ્રપિતા મહાત્મા ગાંધીજીનું. પરમ કૃપાળુ દેવ શ્રીમદના સંસર્ગમાં આવતા જ રાષ્ટ્રપિતા ગાંધીજીના જીવનમાં સત્ય અને અહિંસાનો પ્રકાશ દૈદીપ્યમાન થવા લાગ્યો. મહાત્મા ગાંધીજીના જીવન ઘડતરમાં મહત્વનો ફાળો શ્રીમદજીનો હતો. શ્રીમદની પરમાર્થ પ્રેરણાને સહારે ગાંધીજીએ રાજકીય, આધ્યાત્મિક અને સામાજિક ક્રાંતિ કરી. Although being a householder, he lived a monastic life and remained soulfully detached. While doing business, he never compromised on his ethical values and ever remained honest. He was the key administrator of his business enterprise. Yet, annually for 4 months, he would isolate himself to enjoy the spiritual retreat. Fearless, undesirous, and remaining disengaged with the world, he would meditate in wilderness. In deep meditation, in blissful consciousness, he would be unaware that a sheath of insect and mosquitoes bit his body. Engulfed in pure awareness, he perched on the pinnacle of spirituality. આ વર્ષો દરમિયાન તેઓ ક્યારેય જાહેરમાં બોધ આપતા નહીં. છતાં કોઈ મુમુક્ષુઓ અતિ આગ્રહ કરે ત્યારે પોતાનો ઉદય જાણી આત્મલક્ષ્યે બોધ આપતા. તે સમયના સમકાલીન મુમુક્ષુઓ ઉપર લખાયેલા તેમના પરમાર્થ પત્રોમાં આગમનો સાર સમાય છે. તેમને રચેલા પદોમાં જીનેશ્વર ભગવાને લખેલો મૂળ સનાતન ધર્મ પ્રાપ્ત થાય છે.
શ્રીમદજીના અનન્ય ભક્ત એટલે પંચ મહાવ્રતધારી જૈન મુનિ પૂજ્ય શ્રી લલ્લુજી મહારાજ સાહેબ સમ્યક દર્શન પ્રાપ્ત કરવાની તીવ્ર તાલાવેલી તેમના પવિત્ર અંતરમાં હતી. 1952ની સાલમાં પ્લેગના ચેપી રોગથી અનેક મનુષ્યો મૃત્યુ પામી રહ્યા હતા. એવામાં શ્રી લલ્લુજી મુનિને ઝીણો તાવ આવવા લાગ્યો અને તેમનું જ નામ ધરાવતા અન્ય ગ્રહસ્થ શેઠ શ્રી લલ્લુભાઈ પ્લેગમાં ગુજરી ગયા. એ વાત સાંભળી મુનિશ્રીના અંતરમાં ફિકર થઈ. રખેને હું પણ સંકિત વગર ગુજરી જઈશ તો? પરમ કૃપાળુ દેવ શ્રીમદજી ઉપર તેમને પરમેશ્વર તુલ્ય ભક્તિ અને શ્રદ્ધા હતી. પોતાની આ ફિકર પત્ર દ્વારા તેમણે શ્રીમદજીને લખી મોકલી. શ્રીમદજીએ વળતો આશ્વાસન પત્ર લખી મોકલ્યો કે ફિકર કરશો નહીં. આત્માને આત્મભાવમાં સ્થિર કરવા ષટપદનો અત્યંત પરમાર્થ પ્રેરક પત્ર સાથે મોકલી આપ્યો. એ પત્રમાં આત્મા છે, આત્મા નિત્ય છે, આત્મા કર્મનો કર્તા અને ભોગતા છે, આત્માનો મોક્ષ છે અને મોક્ષનો ઉપાય પણ છે. એ 6 અસ્થિપદનું નિરૂપણ એ પત્રમાં કર્યું હતું. કરુણા સિંધુ શ્રીમદજીએ ષટપદના પત્રની એક પ્રત સાયલા નિવાસી હૃદય સખા ભવ્ય શ્રી સૌભાગભાઈને પણ મોકલી આપી. પત્ર મળતા જ સૌભાગભાઈએ તેનું એકાગ્રતાપૂર્વક મનન અને ચિંતન શરૂ કર્યું. પત્રમાં લખેલ વિષય અત્યંત મહત્વનો લાગતા તે પત્રને તેઓએ અનેક વાર વાંચી કંઠસ્થ કરવાનો પ્રયત્ન કર્યો. પ્રયત્ન કરવા છતાં તે પત્ર સ્મૃતિમાં યાદ ન રહેતા શ્રી સૌભાગભાઈએ શ્રીમદજીને વિનંતી કરી અને લખ્યું કે ષટપદનો પત્ર મોઢે નથી રહેતો, માટે જો તે પત્રના વિષયને પદ્ય સ્વરૂપે લખી મોકલો તો મનમાં યાદ રહી જાય અને આત્મા તેમાંથી અહર્નિશ બોધ પામતો રહે. પૂજ્ય સૌભાગભાઈની પ્રેમભરી વિજ્ઞપ્તિને શ્રીમદજીએ આદરપૂર્વક સ્વીકારી. વિક્રમ સંવત 1952 આસો વદ એકમનો એ પવિત્ર દિવસ હતો. સંધ્યાકાળે ગુર્જર પ્રદેશના નડિયાદ ગામે શ્રીમદજી બહારથી ફરી અને પાછા આવ્યા. સાથે રહેલ સુશિષ્ય રાજરત્ન શ્રી અંબાલાલભાઈને કહ્યું, અંબાલાલ, ફાનસ લે. અને તુરંત આજ્ઞાધીન શ્રી અંબાલાલભાઈ ફાનસ લઈ સ્થિર ઉભા રહ્યા. શ્રીમદજીએ મેઝ ઉપર રહેલા કાગળો ઉપર કલમ અને સ્યાહીથી લખવાનું શરૂ કર્યું. અર્વાચીન કાળના આ યુગ પ્રધાન મહાપુરુષ પરમ કૃપાળુ દેવના દિવ્ય આત્મામાંથી માત્ર 1.5 કલાકના ટૂંકા સમયમાં તે આત્મસિદ્ધિ પ્રગટ થતી ગઈ. કોઈ આયાસ કે પ્રયાસ વગર સહજ કલમ ચાલતી ગઈ અને અધ્યાત્મનું નવનીત આગમોનો સાર તેની 142 કડીઓમાં સમાતો ગયો. એ આત્મસિદ્ધિ શાસ્ત્રનું પાન કરતા શાશ્વત સુખની પ્રાપ્તિ થાય છે. આત્મા જીવ મટી અને શિવ બની જાય છે. એવી એ ભવતારીની જ્ઞાન ગંગા આ અવની પર ઉતરી તેને 125 વર્ષ પૂર્ણ થાય છે.
આ બેજોડ પારમાર્થિક કલાકૃતિનો મુખ્ય વિષય છે આત્માના 6 પદ. 6 પદની સાથોસાથ શ્રીમદજીએ ષટ દર્શનની તાત્વિક વિચારધારાને જૈન ધર્મ સાથે સરખાવી અનેકાંતવાદ દ્વારા પરમ સત્યનું નિરૂપણ કર્યું છે. ગુરુ શિષ્ય સંવાદ શૈલીમાં પ્રગટ થયેલી આ આત્મસિદ્ધિમાં સમ્યક દર્શન તેમજ મોક્ષનો મહામાર્ગ સ્પષ્ટ રીતે દર્શાવાય છે. પ્રથમ ગાથામાં જ ઉદ્ઘોષણા કરતા શ્રીમદજીએ કહે છે, સદગુરુ એ સાક્ષાત ભગવાન છે. આત્મ સ્વરૂપનું લક્ષ્ય કરાવી અનંત દુઃખથી જેઓ મુક્ત કરાવે છે એમ કહી અનોખી રીતે મંગલાચરણ દ્વારા આ શાસ્ત્રનો શુભારંભ તેઓ કરે છે. પરમ કૃપાળુ શ્રીમદજીએ જોયું કે ધર્મ કરતા જીવોની દશા ઘાંચીના બળદ જેવી છે. ચાલવાની ક્રિયા તો થઈ રહી છે, પણ માર્ગ કપાતો નથી. ધર્મના અનુરાગી ધર્મ કરે છે, પણ છતાં ધર્મ પામતા નથી. ધર્મ કરતા જીવો કાં તો જળ ક્રિયાવાદી પ્યોર રિચ્યુઅલિસ્ટિક થઈ ગયા છે અને કાં તો શુષ્ક જ્ઞાની ડ્રાય ફિલોસોફર મિથ્યાત્વ અને અહંકારમાં વર્તી રહ્યા છે. માટે તેમણે પ્રથમ ક્રિયા જડત્વ અને શુષ્ક વાચા જ્ઞાનીનું સ્વરૂપ બતાવી ધાર્મિક જીવોને જાગૃત કર્યા છે. જેને સાચા મોક્ષ માર્ગે ચાલવું હશે તેને સૌ પ્રથમ સદગુરુનો મહિમા અને તેમની અનિવાર્યતા સમજવી પડશે. ગાથા 10માં તેમણે સદગુરુના 5 લક્ષણો આત્મજ્ઞાન, સમદર્શિતા, વિચરે ઉદય પ્રયોગ, અપૂર્વ વાણી અને પરમ શ્રુતની વાત કરી સદગુરુ કેવા હોય તે જણાવ્યું છે. ત્યારબાદ કરુણામૂર્તિ શ્રીમદજીએ સ્વચ્છંદને ત્યજી આવા વિદેહી જ્ઞાની સદગુરુ પ્રત્યે પૂર્ણ સમર્પિત થવા માટે વિનંતી કરી છે. આગળ વધતા મતાર્થીના લક્ષણો ત્યજી આત્માર્થી થવાનો ઉપાય બતાવ્યો છે. જે મુક્ત થવા ઈચ્છે છે તેણે પ્રથમ લાયક બનવું પડશે. કશાયને ઉપશમાવી જે કેવળ મોક્ષનો અભિલાષી છે, ભવ ભ્રમણનો જેને અતિશય થાક લાગ્યો છે, જન્મ મરણના દુઃખથી ત્રાહિત એવા પોતાના આત્મા ઉપર જેને દયા જાગી છે, તેમજ સદગુરુમાં જેને પરમેશ્વર બુદ્ધિ થઈ છે, તે સંકિત પામવા માટેનું ઉત્તમ પાત્ર છે. આત્માના ષડપદ સંબંધિત શિષ્યની તમામ આશંકાઓનું ઉન્મૂલન કરી સદગુરુ બોધિ બીજની પ્રાપ્તિ કરાવે છે. પ્રથમ અંતર્મુખ અવલોકનનો પુરુષાર્થ શિષ્યમાં દ્રઢ કરાવે છે. ત્યારબાદ મનને સ્થિર કરી વૃત્તિઓને નિજ જ્ઞાન ભાવમાં વહેતી રખાવી નિશ્ચય સમ્યક દર્શનની વાત શિષ્યને અનુભવથી સમજાવે છે. ધર્મ કે પંથનો આગ્રહ ન રાખતા મોક્ષ માર્ગની અદ્ભુત વ્યાખ્યા 100મી ગાથામાં તેમણે કરી છે. તેઓ કહે છે કે જે દ્વારા રાગ, દ્વેષ અને અજ્ઞાન દૂર થાય તે જ મોક્ષનો પંથ છે. ગાથા 19, 96 તેમજ વધારાની ગાથામાં આમ 3 વાર પોતાના હૃદય સખા સૌભાગભાઈને તેમણે આ આત્મસિદ્ધિના પ્રાગટ્ય કાળે યાદ કરી અમર કરી દીધા છે.
ચરોતર પ્રદેશની અનેક ભૂમિઓ પરમ કૃપાળુ દેવના ચરણ કમળના પાવન સ્પર્શથી પવિત્ર થઈ છે. ખાસ કરીને ઈડરની ભૂમિનો અને તેના પહાડો તથા ગુફાઓનો, તે તપોભૂમિના અલૌકિક વાતાવરણનું શ્રીમદજીને ખૂબ આકર્ષણ હતું. આ પવિત્ર ભૂમિ પર ભગવાન મહાવીર વિચર્યા હતા. શ્રીમદને પૂર્વ ભાવના આ ભૂમિ પરના ભગવાન મહાવીર સાથેના સંસ્મરણો યાદ આવતા. Dwelling in inner joy and retired from worldly affairs, he was to renounce the world and accept monkhood. But suddenly, at the age of 32, he suffered severe digestive disorder. His health kept deteriorating. He became too weak, unable to walk or sit by himself. He endured it all with perfect equanimity. ચૈત્રવદ ચોથનો દિવસ આવી પહોંચ્યો. દેહ ત્યાગના આગલા દિવસે સાયંકાળે પોતાના નાના ભાઈ શ્રી મનસુખભાઈ તેમજ રેવાશંકરભાઈ, નરોત્તમભાઈ વગેરેની હાજરીમાં શ્રીમદ ચેતવણી સ્વરૂપે બોલ્યા, તમે નિશ્ચિત રહેજો, આ આત્મા શાશ્વત છે, અવશ્ય વિશેષ ઉત્તમ ગતિને પ્રાપ્ત થવાનું છે. તમે શાંતિ અને સમાધિપણે પ્રવર્તશો. જે રત્નમય જ્ઞાન વાણી આ દેહ દ્વારા કહી શકવાની હતી તે કહેવાનો સમય નથી. તમે પુરુષાર્થ કરશો. રાત્રે 2:30 વાગે શ્રીમદને અત્યંત શરદી થઈ. તે સમયે તેઓ શ્રીએ જણાવ્યું, નિશ્ચિત રહેજો, ભાઈનું સમાધિ મૃત્યુ છે. બીજે દિવસે તારીખ 9 એપ્રિલ 1901 વિક્રમ સંવત 1957ના ચૈત્રવદ પાંચમે સવારે થોડું દૂધ વાપર્યું. ત્યારબાદ પોતાના લઘુ ભ્રાતા શ્રી મનસુખભાઈને કહ્યું, મનસુખ, દુઃખ ન પામતો, માને ઠીક રાખજે. બપોરના 2 વાગે દેહ છોડ્યા સુધી તેઓ સમાધિમાં લીન કેટલા યુગમાં ન થાય તેટલું કામ તેઓ માત્ર 33 વર્ષમાં કરી ગયા. શ્રીમદજીએ બતાવેલો મૂળ માર્ગ મુમુક્ષુઓનો રાજમાર્ગ બન્યો છે. આવો એ મૂળ ધર્મની ઉપાસનાની અખંડ જ્યોત આપણા હૃદયમાં પ્રગટાવવા માટે પરમ કૃપાળુ દેવ શ્રીમદ રાજચંદ્રજી બે હાથ જોડી વંદન કરીએ, વંદન કરીએ, વંદન કરીએ.
બોલો શ્રી મહાવીર સ્વામી ભગવાન કી જય. પરમ કૃપાળુ દેવ કી જય. સદગુરુ દેવ કી જય.
પ્રભુ તે મને જે આપ્યો છે તેનો બદલો શેવાળો બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડાને વાળો, ઓ મારા મનડાને પ્રભુ તે મને જે આપ્યો છે તેનો બદલો શેવાળો બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડાને વાળો, ઓ મારા મનડાને વાળો. નરકની ગોધતી તે તાર્યો, મને અનંત દુઃખોથી ઉગાર્યો. તારા ઉપકાર અનંત છે, તારા ઉપકાર તેનો બદલો શેવાળો બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડાને વાળો. પ્રભુ તે મને જે આપ્યું છે પહોંચો તારી કૃપા, તુજ શાસન પામ્યો તારી કૃપા. जिन धर्म तणी बलिहारी छे जिन धर्म तणी बलिहारी छे तेनो बदलो शेवाळो बस तारी भक्ति करी करीने मारा मनडाने वाळो ओ मारा मनडाने તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને મારા મનડા લેવાડો ઓ મારા મનડા લેવાડો પ્રભુ તે મને જે આપ્યો છે તેનો બદલો શેવાડો બસ તારી ભક્તિ કરી કરીને